Anyway, for our next story in terms of technology, so I think we've discussed it in previous discussion regarding, Samsung is still the number one smartphone maker in the world. Number two now is Xiaomi. Number three is Apple, right? Now, even though the pandemic is still ongoing, demands for smartphone are still ongoing, right? Now, what's interesting here, according to TechSpat.com, even though Samsung is still the leading global smartphone maker or market, despite quarterly decline. So we'll take a closer look. So what could be the reason behind the decline here? Anyway, what the heck is this? Wait, there you go. So as you can see here, they're a popular. Yeah. So according to company Counterpoint Research, they mentioned that the global smartphone only grew by 90% compared to last year, around 329 million. One would think that's a lot, but compared that to previous quarters and previous years, that's significantly higher. So what's interesting, the global smartphone shipments collectively fell by as much as 7% quarter over quarter here. So let's see here. Here, there you go. So you can see, take a closer look there. So obviously, from the first here, you can see in what year is this? 2015, right? Quarter two, it had 350 million units sold for that particular period, and it grew the following year all the way to 2017, and then it plateaued around 2018, right? And then there was a decline in 2019. So this was even pre-pandemic. Now, obviously, this accelerated the decline during the pandemic, and now it's recovering, but it's not getting pre-pandemic levels anymore. So there has been a slippage in terms of demand for what do you call this, for smartphones here. But what's interesting here is that which companies are doing well and which are declining here. So you can take a closer look here. So at the bottom here, you can see the dark blue. This represents the company Samsung. So they're still they own majority chunk of the market share here, but it's been declining slightly. Even during last year, their sales were still they were declining already below 70 million, right? So it's almost 20 million difference there. And the only company that did really well was, if you look at it, the orange graph here is the Xiaomi company, which had been steadily growing and has even doubled their growth in terms of production here. Now you have Apple here, on the other hand, has been steadily growing, but obviously they have a different market strategy compared to Xiaomi, which is a more affordable smartphone product, compared to Apple, which is considered premium, so to speak. And then you also have other smartphone makers, Oppo and Vivo, and you can see that even other smartphone makers, their sales have been declining steeply. So meaning, should this be a concern for those smartphone makers? Because at the end of the day, is the demand still growing, or has it reached a tipping point that has it plateaued? I think that's why several companies, like in the case of Apple, has been looking for several ways how to diversify their portfolio, not just focusing on smartphone making. They also have laptops, desktops, and other peripherals that they would sell to the consumer, and obviously focusing on the application side or the software side with regards to the Apple App Store, charging the the developers for 30% fee. So I think they're seeing the trend here. They'd like to have a stronger hold in their market in the United States, but it comes to a point that the sales will decline. The question is, what would the company in the likes of Samsung and Apple do in their case? Now, I think Samsung is not just a smartphone maker here. They're also makers of great television, in this case LED TV, or even do they have OLED? I think they have OLED. I'm not sure. And also they have other businesses here. So Samsung is a much bigger company with the other investments in other industries as well. So is it going to decline anytime soon, or is it going to be a slow decline here unless they find a better, or unless they can innovate the product, right? I think which what they're trying. But in terms of my experience here, right, I own a Samsung S21, right, Ultra, and you know the innovation is only increment, not similar to decades past where there were leaps and bounds of improvement from a Nokia phone to a iPhone to a Samsung, you know, S series phone. You know, there were leaps and bounds decades ago, but now it's just micro increments here. Better screen, whether it's from LED to LCD to OLED, and then you know a slightly bump in processing, storage, and so forth, right? But at the end of the day, it was not going to be any significant improvements in terms of technology. I think Samsung tried to offer the Z Fold, right, a foldable phone, which is interesting in a sense, but it's way too expensive. Unless they can bring down the price to where the S series or the Apple phones are in terms of its price range, it's way too expensive. So in terms of tier, there's uh what do you call this? Luxury and uber luxury, if there's such a thing. Anyway,